Imagine for a moment that you're standing in front of a mirror, not just looking at your reflection, but really seeing yourself. The question is, who's in control? Is it you, or is it your anger, your fear, your doubt, your impulses that pull the strings? Most people think strength is about lifting weights, raising your voice, or proving a point. But real strength, the kind that lasts, the kind that builds empires, the kind that commands respect without you saying a single word, comes from one thing: control. The person who cannot control themselves will always be controlled by someone else. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone lose everything in just a moment of weakness? A career destroyed by one emotional outburst. A relationship shattered because they couldn't stay silent when they should have. A future burned to the ground because they couldn't walk away from temptation. Control is not optional, it's survival. But here's the truth, no one tells you. Control isn't something you're born with, it's something you build, brick by brick, decision by decision. Every time you say no to the easy path, every time you refuse to react, every time you choose discipline over impulse, you're not just controlling, you're building strong enough that nothing breaks you. So tonight, I want you to lean in, to challenge yourself, to confront the uncomfortable truth. If you don't master control, life will master you. The world doesn't respect the loudest, it respects the one who cannot be shaken, the one who stays calm in the storm, the one who doesn't just look strong, but is strong through and through. And if you're ready, I'll show you exactly how to build that strength, how to become unshakable, unstoppable, untouchable. Because when you learn how to control, you don't just survive, you dominate. Control always begins with the person you see in the mirror. You can try to control circumstances. You can try to control people. You can even try to control how the world treats you. But the truth is, none of that is possible until you master yourself first. The most powerful people you'll ever meet are not the ones who shout the loudest, who intimidate the fastest, or who show the most aggression. The most powerful people are the ones who know how to stay composed when the rest of the world is falling apart. They don't flinch, they don't fold, and they don't hand their power away with careless reactions. Let's be honest, most people give away their power without even realizing it. They let anger decide for them. They let fear dictate their choices. They let insecurities whisper in their ear and shape their lives. The truth is, every time you let an emotion control you, you weaken yourself. You may think you're proving a point by yelling, by snapping, by forcing your opinion, but in reality, you're exposing your lack of control. And once people see that, once they learn how to push your buttons, you no longer have the power. They do. Think about how many times you've seen someone get provoked by the smallest comment. One insult and they explode. One disagreement and they spiral. That's not strength, that's weakness, dressed in a loud disguise. Real strength is when someone tries to provoke you and you don't take the bait. Real strength is when people try to rattle you, but your composure stays unshaken. That is when people realize you are not someone to be toyed with. But let's take this deeper. Control is not just about staying calm in front of others. It's about staying in control of yourself when no one's watching. The food you eat, the habits you repeat, the way you spend your time, every single one of those choices either strengthens your control or weakens it. Most people lose the battle in silence long before they ever step out into the world. They give in to laziness, they give in to cravings, they give in to distraction. They build patterns of weakness that eventually show up in every area of their lives, and then they wonder why they feel powerless. Control begins with discipline. Discipline of the body, discipline of the mind, discipline of the tongue. When you decide that you are not going to be ruled by impulses, when you train yourself to do what needs to be done instead of what you feel like doing, that's when you start building strength. Every time you wake up early instead of hitting snooze, you're building control. Every time you say no to unhealthy habits, you're building control. Every time you decide to stay silent instead of reacting in anger, you're building control. These small wins accumulate, and over time, they create a person who is unshakable. Let me tell you something most people don't realize. Your feelings are liars. They'll tell you to quit when things get tough. They'll tell you to eat junk when you're stressed. They'll tell you to stay comfortable when your future demands discomfort. If you live by feelings, you'll live a life of regret. But if you live by control, if you master the art of doing what must be done, regardless of how you feel, you'll live a life of power. Consider the people you admire, the ones who seem untouchable, the ones who have achieved greatness. Do you think they got there by chance? No, they mastered control. They learned to say no when others said yes. They learned to push through when others quit. They built a foundation of discipline that carried them through storms. And that's why they stand strong while others collapse. But let's not sugarcoat this. Control is not easy. It's not glamorous. It's not something you master overnight. It's a fight against your weaker self, a fight against comfort, a fight against every distraction designed to steal your focus. You will fail at times. You will fall short. But every time you choose to get back up, every time you choose discipline over indulgence, every time you resist the urge to react, you grow stronger, you harden yourself. You become the kind of person who doesn't just talk about strength, you live it. Here's the truth. The person who can control themselves can control almost any situation. Why? Because situations are driven by human emotion. And if you don't get pulled into that emotional current, you can see clearly when others can't. You can think strategically while others are blinded by rage or fear. You can hold your ground when others run. And in that moment, people realize that you are not just another voice in the noise. You are a force. So the question becomes, are you in control or are you being controlled? Are you the master of your impulses, or are your impulses the master of you? Are you building strength brick by brick through discipline, or are you tearing it down by giving in every time life gets uncomfortable? The answer to those questions will determine whether you live small or whether you live powerful. Remember this, control is the root of strength. Without it, you are fragile no matter how tough you look. With it, you are unshakable no matter how quiet you are. Control is what separates leaders from followers, warriors from victims, and the strong from the weak. And the greatest victory you will ever win is not over the world, it's over yourself. Strength is not measured by how hard you can hit, how loud you can yell, or how quickly you can dominate a conversation. Strength is measured by how much control you have over yourself when emotions are high. Mastering emotional intelligence is one of the most powerful skills you can ever develop because it gives you influence, respect, and clarity in a world where most people are slaves to their feelings. Think about the last time you saw someone completely lose it. They got angry, shouted, slammed doors, maybe even said things they couldn't take back. In that moment, did they look powerful? No. They looked reckless, weak, and out of control. Their emotions ran the show and they paid the price. On the other hand, have you ever watched someone remain calm in a situation where everyone else was losing their head? That composure made them stand out. It made people lean in, respect them, and even trust them. Why? Because emotional control is rare, and anything rare is powerful. Most people believe that emotional intelligence is about being soft, about being overly understanding, about always being kind. But that's not what true emotional intelligence is. Real emotional intelligence is about awareness and control. It's about recognizing your emotions without letting them control your actions. It's about reading other people's emotions and responding in a way that keeps you in control of the situation. It's about being able to pause, analyze, and respond strategically instead of reacting impulsively. That is strength. One of the greatest mistakes people make is thinking that reacting fast is a sign of strength. But reacting fast often means reacting wrong. The strongest people in the room don't rush to respond. They pause. They process. They let others reveal themselves while they remain silent. And when they finally choose to speak, their words carry weight because they're not driven by impulse, but by strategy. This is emotional intelligence in action. Let's break this down further. You can't control what other people say or do, but you can always control how you choose to respond. Someone disrespects you. Do you explode and give them the satisfaction of seeing you triggered? Or do you hold your ground, keep your composure, and show them that you're not easily moved? Someone doubts you. Do you waste time defending yourself, or do you let your results speak louder than any argument? Emotional intelligence is about choosing the response that keeps your power intact instead of handing it away. This isn't just about handling conflict, it's about relationships, business, leadership, and every interaction you'll ever have. The people who succeed in life are not always the most talented or the most skilled. They're the ones who know how to manage emotions, both theirs and others. They can walk into a room, read the energy, and adjust their presence. They can de-escalate tension before it explodes. They can influence people without force because they understand one truth. People don't follow logic, they follow emotion. If you can master emotion, you can lead. But emotional intelligence starts with self-awareness. You need to know your triggers. What makes you angry? What makes you defensive? What makes you anxious? If you don't know these things, then anyone who pushes the right button will own you. They'll play with your emotions like a puppet master pulling strings. But when you know yourself, when you're aware of what can provoke you, you take that power back. You prepare for it. You build strategies to handle it. And over time, those triggers lose their grip on you. Imagine someone insults you publicly. Most people would react instantly. They'd fight back, shout, defend their pride. But someone with emotional intelligence doesn't need to. They recognize the insult for what it is and attempt to provoke, to gain control. And instead of handing that control over, they choose silence or a calm response or even a smile. That restraint makes them look untouchable. And in that moment, they've won, not because they shouted louder, but because they refused to let someone else control their emotions. Another part of emotional intelligence is empathy, not the kind where you feel sorry for everyone, but the kind where you can see through people, you understand what drives them, what they fear, what they want. And when you understand that, you can navigate situations with precision. You don't get caught up in surface level drama because you can see the deeper truth. You don't take everything personally because you recognize that most of the time people's behavior is more about them than it is about you. This perspective keeps you calm when others would be offended. It keeps you strategic when others would get lost in emotion. Building emotional intelligence takes practice. It's not about shutting off your emotions. It's about managing them. It's about creating space between what you feel and what you do. For example, when you feel anger rising, instead of reacting, you pause. You breathe. You remind yourself, if I react right now, I give them power. If I stay in control, I keep my power. That single pause is the difference between weakness and strength, between regret and respect. Think of emotional intelligence as armor. Without it, every insult, every setback, every failure pierces you and leaves you bleeding. With it, those same arrows bounce off. They don't control you, they don't define you, and they don't break you. And when you reach that point, people start to see you differently. They trust you, they respect you, they know you're not someone who can be easily manipulated because you're not driven by emotional outbursts. You are steady, you are composed, you are strong. At the end of the day, emotions are energy. They can destroy you or they can fuel you. The choice is yours. Most people waste their energy on anger, gossip, jealousy, fear. They pour it into reactions that weaken them. But if you master your emotions, you can redirect that same energy into discipline, focus, growth, and influence. You stop being a victim of your feelings and you start being the master of them. The truth is, emotional intelligence is one of the greatest weapons you will ever carry. It makes you untouchable in conflict, respected in leadership, and unshakable in adversity. The person who masters emotions doesn't need to chase validation, doesn't need to scream for attention, doesn't need to prove themselves to anyone. Their composure speaks louder than words. And when you reach that level of control, you stop playing small games, you stop being reactive, you rise above. Because in the end, people won't remember what you shouted in anger, but they will always remember the calm, unshakable presence of someone who knew how to control themselves when everyone else was losing it. That is true power. That is true strength. And that is what it means to master emotional intelligence. Strength is not just something you carry in your body. It's not just about how much weight you can lift, how fast you can run, or how long you can endure physical pain. True strength is a union between body and mind. If your body is strong but your mind is weak, you will crumble the moment pressure hits. And if your mind is sharp but your body is neglected, you'll lack the stamina, the energy, and the presence to live out that strength. To build a life of power, you must harden both. Physical toughness and mental toughness must walk hand in hand, because one fuels the other. Most people live soft. They wake up late, eat whatever they want, complain when things get uncomfortable, and retreat the second life pushes back. They want strength without struggle. They want power without pressure. But here's the truth. Toughness is forged in discomfort. It's built in the moments when you want to quit, when your body screams at you to stop, when your mind tells you it's too much, and yet you keep going. That is where toughness is born. Not in comfort, not in ease, but in resistance. Let's start with the body. Your body is the first battlefield where you learn control. Every time you choose to train, even when you don't feel like it, you're not just building muscle, you're building discipline. Every time you push yourself past your limit in the gym, on the run, or in practice, you're teaching yourself that your limits are negotiable. You're showing yourself that what you thought was the edge is just the beginning, and that carries over into every part of life. Because if you can't control your own body, if you can't push through discomfort physically, what makes you think you'll push through when life gets hard emotionally or mentally? Now let's look at the mind. Mental toughness is the art of staying unbroken when life tries to break you. It's the ability to sit in chaos and not fold. It's waking up every day with clarity and purpose even when you don't feel motivated. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the wind. But toughness is consistent. Toughness is waking up on the days you don't want to, doing the work when nobody's watching, holding the line when others are ready to surrender. Mental toughness is what carries you when your body is tired, when your emotions are unstable, when the situation seems impossible. And here's the secret most people ignore. The mind and body feed each other. When you discipline your body, your mind sharpens. When you discipline your mind, your body follows. For example, when you force yourself into a hard workout, your body screams, stop, but your mind decides, go. That decision strengthens your willpower. And when your willpower strengthens, suddenly you're more resilient in arguments, in setbacks, in stress. On the other hand, when you let your body slip into laziness, your mind follows. The body gets weaker, your confidence fades, and the smallest challenge feels overwhelming. Toughness is not about being fearless. It's about feeling the fear and moving forward anyway. It's not about being invincible. It's about being unshakable. It's about saying, I may not be able to control everything around me, but nothing will break me inside. That mindset only comes when you've tested yourself, when you've put yourself through pressure intentionally. Because life will test you whether you prepare for it or not. And the ones who survive, the ones who rise, are the ones who have already built the muscle of toughness. Think about the military, athletes, or anyone who thrives under extreme conditions. They don't get there by accident. They train, they put themselves in grueling situations so that when real pressure comes, it feels familiar. You can't expect to be tough if you've never faced resistance. You can't expect to handle storms if you've only lived in sunshine. Toughness is a decision you make daily to do the hard thing, to embrace discomfort, to step into the pain and use it as fuel. But toughness is not recklessness. Some people mistake toughness for pretending nothing hurts, for ignoring emotions, for shutting everything out. That's not toughness. That's denial. Real toughness is acknowledging the pain and pushing anyway. It's knowing that fear is present, but choosing to act in spite of it. It's not about being cold. It's about being resilient. It's not about suppressing weakness. It's about overcoming it. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to build this toughness. When life throws you setbacks, you have two choices, complain or confront. The complainer gets weaker with every obstacle. The one who confronts grows stronger. Toughness is not given, it is earned every time you step up instead of stepping back. And here's the part that most people don't realize. Toughness is contagious. When you show up strong, others draw strength from you. When you refuse to quit, you give others permission to keep going. When you remain calm under pressure, the people around you begin to believe they can do the same. Toughness isn't just for you, it's for everyone who depends on you, who watches you, who looks to you for leadership. If you want to build toughness, start by building habits. Wake up earlier than you want to, train harder than you think you can, expose yourself to discomfort every single day, whether that's a cold shower, a brutal workout, or sitting with silence instead of distraction. These small acts of resistance shape you. They teach your mind and body that you are in charge, not your feelings, not your fears, not your excuses. Because here's the truth, the world will not go easy on you. Life doesn't care if you're tired, unprepared, or fragile. It will test you. It will throw storms your way. And if you are not tough physically, mentally, emotionally, you will break. But if you are tough, if you've built yourself layer by layer, trial by trial, choice by choice, then nothing can stop you. You may get knocked down, but you will rise. You may get bruised, but you won't stay broken. So ask yourself this. When the storm comes, and it will you crumble? Or will you stand tall, steady, and unshakable? The answer depends on what you're building today. Toughness is not built in one dramatic moment. It's built in the small, daily choices you make when no one is watching. It's built every time you refuse to quit. It's built every time you choose discipline over comfort. That is how you build physical toughness. That is how you build mental toughness. And together, that is how you build a life that nothing and no one can break. When people talk about strength, they often limit it to one dimension. They think it's either about how much you can endure mentally or how much you can push physically. But the truth is, if you want to be unshakable in life, if you want to carry yourself with real power, you have to develop both your body and your mind. One without the other is fragile. A strong body with a weak mind collapses under pressure. A sharp mind and a weak body struggles to carry out its vision. Real strength, the kind that commands respect and withstands storms, is forged when physical toughness and mental toughness work together. Most people live soft without realizing it. They avoid discomfort at all costs. They choose the easy path, the comfortable seat, the shortcut. They think comfort is safety, but comfort is where strength dies. The body grows weak because it's never challenged. The mind grows fragile because it's never tested. And then when life throws its inevitable hardships, they shatter. Not because the hardship was unbearable, but because they never prepared themselves to endure it. Physical toughness is the foundation. Your body is the vessel through which you experience everything in life. If you neglect it, everything else suffers. Your confidence, your energy, your presence. Every time you choose to train when you don't feel like it, you're not just building muscle. You're proving to yourself that you are in charge, not your feelings. Every drop of sweat is a declaration that you will not be ruled by laziness. The burn in your muscles is more than pain, it's evidence that you are expanding your limits. And when you expand those limits physically, your mind begins to realize that it too can push further than it believed. But toughness is not just built in the gym or on the field, it's built in everyday choices. It's waking up when you want to stay in bed, it's eating clean when junk food is calling your name, it's choosing the extra mile, the extra rep, the extra effort when nobody is watching. Physical toughness is less about showing off your strength and more about disciplining your body until it obeys you. Because if you cannot command yourself to move when you're tired, how can you expect to command yourself to act when life hits harder than you imagined? Mental toughness, on the other hand, is the voice that refuses to break under pressure. It's the mindset that says, no matter what happens, I will not fold. Mental toughness doesn't mean you don't feel fear, doubt, or exhaustion. It means you face them and push forward anyway. Everyone feels fear. Everyone faces doubt. But the difference between the weak and the strong is that the strong do not let those feelings dictate their choices. They recognize them, but they keep moving. The mind and body feed each other. When you force your body through a brutal workout, your mind is tested too. It has to decide, quit, or continue. And when your mind chooses to continue, it grows stronger. That strength doesn't disappear after the workout. It follows you. It helps you stay calm in conflict. It helps you stand firm in adversity. It helps you remain focused when distractions try to pull you away. Similarly, when you strengthen your mind by refusing to give in to stress, excuses, or weakness, your body follows. You hold yourself differently. You carry yourself differently. Your presence changes because you know you cannot be easily broken. But let's make one thing clear. Toughness is not built in comfort. It is built in the fire of resistance. It's built in the moments when everything inside you wants to quit, and you keep going. It's built when you voluntarily step into discomfort, when you choose challenge over ease, when you lean into the pain instead of running from it. You don't become tough by accident, you build it. One decision at a time. Look at anyone who operates at the highest level. Athletes, warriors, leaders, they all share one thing. They put themselves through intentional suffering. They expose themselves to pressure on purpose so that when real adversity comes, they are not surprised. They've already been there in training and preparation in the quiet battles no one else sees. That's why they stand strong when others collapse. Some people confuse toughness with recklessness. They think being tough means pretending they don't feel pain, denying their emotions, shutting themselves off from the world. But that's not strength, that's avoidance. Real toughness is acknowledging pain, acknowledging fear, acknowledging fatigue, and still choosing to act. It's not about being numb, it's about being resilient. It's not about pretending you don't have weakness. It's about refusing to let weakness win. Every day gives you opportunities to build toughness. The small decisions matter more than you think. When you're tired, do you stop or do you go one more round? When life feels overwhelming, do you complain or do you face it? When you feel like giving up, do you surrender or do you remind yourself why you started? Each of these moments is a chance to stack another brick in your wall of resilience. Over time, those bricks build a fortress no storm can take down. And here's the most powerful part. Toughness spreads. When you show resilience, people notice. When you refuse to quit, others draw inspiration from you. When you carry yourself with calm strength, it gives those around you a reason to believe they can do the same. Your toughness doesn't just elevate you, it elevates everyone who depends on you, everyone who watches you, everyone who needs an example of what it looks like to stay strong. If you want to start building this toughness, start with simple practices. Push your body daily. Do something that makes you uncomfortable. Face challenges instead of running from them. Train your mind to remain steady when emotions rise. Learn to pause, breathe, and decide instead of reacting. These practices may seem small, but they're the foundation of a mindset and body that won't collapse when life tests you. Because life will test you, it will push you to your knees, it will strip away your excuses and force you to face yourself. And in that moment, the question will not be, how strong do you look? It will be, how strong are you really? Will you crumble under the weight, or will you rise, scarred but unbroken? Toughness is not a performance. It's not something you put on like a mask. It's who you are when nobody is watching, when the pressure is unbearable, when quitting looks easier than continuing. Toughness is built quietly, through sweat, through pain, through struggle. And when you build it, you don't just survive life, you conquer it. Respect is not something you ask for. It is not something you beg for. It is not something you chase. Respect is commanded. It is earned through the way you carry yourself, through the way you set boundaries, through the way you show the world what you will and will not allow. The moment you start tolerating disrespect, the moment you accept less than you deserve, the world will hand you exactly that less. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are lines that teach people how to treat you, and without them you cannot be strong. Too many people confuse kindness with weakness. They think being agreeable, always saying yes, never standing up for themselves, will earn them love and respect. But what it earns is exploitation. The world doesn't respect the person who bends for everyone. The world respects the person who knows their worth, who stands firm, who refuses to let others cross their line. That's what boundaries are, a declaration of your value. When you set boundaries, you're telling people, this is who I am. This is what I allow. This is what I refuse. Cross this line and you lose access to me. Think about the strongest people you've ever met. They're not the ones constantly explaining themselves. They don't waste time arguing or trying to prove their worth. They simply draw a line and they mean it. They don't raise their voice, but their presence says, you will not treat me that way. That's power. That's control. And that's what earns lasting respect. Boundaries are more than just rules for other people. They are also rules for yourself. You set the tone for how others treat you by how you treat yourself. If you disrespect your own time, others will too. If you disrespect your own body, others will too. If you allow yourself to be treated poorly, others will believe it's acceptable. But when you set clear standards for your own life, how you work, how you live, how you speak, those standards create an invisible force around you. People see it and they act accordingly. Now let's be real, setting boundaries is not easy. It requires courage. It requires saying no when you want to say yes, just to keep the peace. It requires walking away when it would be easier to stay quiet. It requires facing conflict instead of avoiding it. That's why so many people struggle with it. They fear rejection. They fear judgment. They fear being disliked. But here's the truth. Every time you betray yourself to please others, you lose a piece of your power. And the more you do it, the weaker you become. Commanding respect means being willing to be misunderstood. It means not everyone will like you. It means some people will call you difficult, selfish, or arrogant. But those same people will also think twice before disrespecting you. And isn't that the goal, to be respected, not necessarily liked? Because being liked is temporary, being respected lasts. Consider this. When you fail to set boundaries, you invite chaos into your life. People will drain your energy, waste your time, and take advantage of your kindness. And once they realize you won't stop them, they won't stop themselves. That's why boundaries are not negotiable. They're survival. They protect your energy, your peace, your confidence, your focus. Without them, you cannot build strength. Respect also comes from consistency. It's not enough to set boundaries once you have to uphold them every time. The moment you compromise, the moment you let something slide, you teach people that your boundaries are flexible, and people will test you. They'll push to see how serious you are. That's why you must be unshakable. If you say no, mean it. If you draw a line, enforce it. Consistency is what transforms boundaries from words into power. But boundaries are not about hostility. They are not about pushing people away. They are about clarity. They are about showing people how to interact with you in a way that's healthy, respectful, and strong. And the people who truly value you will never be offended by your boundaries. They will respect them. It's the ones who benefited from your lack of boundaries who will be upset when you finally enforce them. And that tells you everything you need to know. Commanding respect also means commanding yourself. If you want others to respect you, you must live in a way that deserves respect. Keep your word, show up on time, work hard, speak with intention, carry yourself with confidence. The way you live your life becomes the example of what others can expect from you. People may not agree with you, but they cannot deny the presence of someone who lives with discipline and authority. Boundaries and respect go hand in hand. One creates the other. When you know who you are and what you stand for, you naturally create an aura of strength around you. People sense it. They know you're not someone to be played with. They know you're not someone who bends easily. They may test you once, but they won't test you twice. That's the mark of respect. You don't have to demand it because it's already there. In the end, boundaries are not just about protecting yourself from others. They're about protecting your potential. Every time you say no to something that disrespects you, you're saying yes to your growth, your peace, your strength. Every time you enforce your boundaries, you're building a stronger version of yourself, and that version of you is unstoppable. So ask yourself, where are you allowing disrespect? Where are you giving away your time, your energy, your worth too cheaply? Where are you betraying yourself just to avoid conflict? Those are the areas where you need to draw the line, because until you do, you'll always feel drained, undervalued, and disrespected. But the moment you stand firm, the moment you decide that your worth is non-negotiable, the world shifts, people adjust, respect follows. Boundaries are not about arrogance, they are about self-respect. And when you respect yourself enough to enforce them, the world has no choice but to respect you too. That is how you command respect. Not by force, not by begging, but by being so strong in who you are that others have no option but to recognize it. Control without application is wasted. Strength without direction is just untapped potential. The real purpose of control, the reason you discipline yourself, the reason you build toughness, the reason you set boundaries is not just so you can say you're strong. It's so you can use that strength to create influence, to move people, to lead, to shape your life into something extraordinary. Control is not the end goal. Control is the foundation. Once you master yourself, once you hold power over your impulses and your emotions, then you are ready to transform that control into power that extends beyond you. Power is not about dominating others. Power is not about fear, manipulation, or control over people. That's temporary. True power is about influence. It's about people trusting your judgment because they see you don't get rattled. It's about people respecting your voice because you only speak when it matters. It's about others naturally following your lead because you've proven that you lead yourself first. You cannot guide anyone until you've shown you can guide yourself. And once you do, people will sense it. They will feel that composure, that discipline, that presence, and they will listen. When you control yourself, you instantly separate from the majority. Look around. Most people are ruled by their moods, their cravings, their distractions. They live reactive lives, constantly pulled in every direction. That is why true control is magnetic. It makes you stand out. In a room full of people who can't stop talking, the person who sits calmly, observing, thinking before speaking, that's the one everyone notices. That's the one who commands the room without even trying. And that is where influence begins. Influence is built on trust, and trust is built on consistency. When you demonstrate that you are steady, that you don't break under pressure, people start to rely on you. They know that when challenges come, you won't panic. They know you'll make decisions not out of fear, but out of clarity. And because of that, they will follow you, even when the path is uncertain. This is the power that comes from control. You don't have to demand it. You don't have to force it. It happens naturally because people crave leadership. And leadership begins with self-mastery. Think about history. The leaders who left their mark weren't always the loudest or the most aggressive. They were the ones who could remain calm when others fell apart. They were the ones who could think clearly in chaos. They were the ones who turned their personal discipline into collective strength. They understood that people don't follow orders. They follow examples. That's why controlling yourself is not just for you. It's for everyone who depends on you, everyone who looks to you, everyone who needs proof that strength is possible. Control also gives you freedom. Most people think freedom is doing whatever you want whenever you want, but that's not freedom. That's slavery to impulse. Real freedom is having such control over yourself that nothing owns you. Not food, not anger, not distractions, not addictions, not fear. When nothing owns you, you are free to focus, to build, to create, to lead. That's when you become dangerous. Not because you threaten others, but because you cannot be manipulated. When people realize they cannot push your buttons, when they cannot bait you into losing your composure, they start respecting you in ways words can't capture. And here's the deeper truth. Power and influence don't always come from what you do. Sometimes they come from what you don't do. You don't react to every insult. You don't chase every opportunity that doesn't align with your values. You don't waste energy on proving yourself to people who don't matter. This restraint, this discipline is what makes people lean in. In a world addicted to noise, the one who controls their silence has the loudest voice. Turning control into influence also means you begin to shape your environment. Instead of letting the world dictate your direction, you start setting the tone. At work, people adjust their energy around you because they know you won't tolerate chaos. In relationships, people step up because they know you won't accept less than respect. In your personal life, opportunities open up because people trust your discipline. Control gives you credibility, and credibility opens doors. Let's not romanticize it. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. You don't suddenly gain influence because you decided to be disciplined for a week. Influence is built through years of consistent control. People watch you, they test you, they see how you handle setbacks, how you react when things don't go your way, how you behave when you think no one is watching, and over time, your consistency builds a reputation. That reputation becomes your power. Power built on control is unshakable because it doesn't depend on circumstances. Circumstances change, status fades, titles disappear, but the ability to remain calm, to think clearly, to hold your ground, that stays with you no matter where you go. That is why controlled people are always valuable. They carry a strength that can't be bought, can't be faked, can't be taken away. So what does it look like to truly turn control into influence? It looks like walking into a room and not needing to prove yourself. It looks like handling conflict without losing your composure. It looks like creating standards so high for yourself that others naturally rise to meet them. It looks like people adjusting their tone, their energy, their behavior when you're around, not because you demanded it, but because your presence commands it. This is the kind of power that lasts. This is the kind of influence that doesn't fade when you leave the room. It is not about control over others. It is about control over yourself so deeply that others cannot help but feel it. They see it, they trust it, they follow it. In the end, strength is not about how loud you are, how intimidating you seem, or how much you can force people to obey. Strength is about control. And when you've built that control brick by brick, choice by choice, moment by moment, you no longer need to demand power. Power comes to you, influence follows you, respect surrounds you, because the world cannot resist someone who has mastered themselves. When you strip everything away, your titles, your possessions, your status, what remains is you. And the question is, who are you when the world tests you? Are you the person who breaks at the first sign of pressure? Or are you the one who stands firm, calm, and unshaken? Control is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about choosing every single day to master your emotions instead of letting them master you. It's about building the toughness that allows you to endure when others quit. It's about drawing boundaries so you are no longer pulled into drama, chaos, and disrespect. It's about transforming all of that control into a quiet power, a steady influence that moves people without you needing to say a word. Because here's the truth. The strongest person in the room is never the loudest. The strongest person is the one who doesn't flinch when life throws its hardest punches. The one who knows that storms don't last, but character does. The one who chooses discipline over impulse, silence over chaos, purpose over distraction. And if you can become that person, if you can truly build control and strengthen it day by day, there will be nothing in this world that can break you. Not opinions, not failures, not losses, not even fear. You will have become untouchable. So leave here today with this unshakable truth. The greatest victory you will ever win is the victory over yourself. Master that battle, and the world opens to you. Master that battle, and you don't just survive, you lead, you inspire, you dominate, you live unbreakable. The choice is yours. Control yourself or be controlled. Build strong or stay fragile. Your future depends on the decision you make right now.